Well, hello everybody. Welcome to the Geeknd Live. I'm Jamie. You are looking tremendous tonight, and I think even my microphone is on 2 weeks running. So we're going to chat about Andor episode 5. Momentarily, there will be at least light spoilers from me. Who knows what might come from you, because this is very much an interactive discussion. So if you are watching live, get involved in the chat as you always do. If you're watching on the replay, aka in the future, then drop me a comment as well. I've been a bit rubbish at comments recently, but I'm going to up my game. So I will get back to you if you do comment. You have my word. If you've just arrived and haven't already, please hit that like button, because that's what we're meant to say in these situations. Apparently, I need that validation. Also, the algorithm does as well. Rumor has it. So, let me just give a few thoughts on Andor episode 5. Then I'm going to pop straight over to the live chat to get the views of the Geeknd locals. All right. So, yeah, I mean, the axe forgets. I have not forgotten this episode in a hurry. The slow burn continues, which is actually not a problem for me at all, as I said last week, and I think the week before. I would describe this show, this episode in particular, using other words such as compelling, intense. That's how I describe this episode and this series so far. A lot more character building in this episode, starting to get to know the rebel crew that Clem is working with. So much attention to detail. That's what I'm really enjoying with this series. Yet they do it in such a great way. You know, there's so much more showing rather than telling. I feel like it really treats the audience like adults, intelligent adults. Not sure if I fit into that demographic, but I'm doing my best to keep up. It's very respectful to the audience. It's not spoon feeding everything. I was also, I have to say, I've always been quietly confident about this series. I know for some, they've been quite indifferent about this series. They might not have even started watching it. Yeah, I know some, Jane Flakes, Leona Powdroy Girl, have been very excited about this series for a long time. So it didn't really have the hype that Obi-Wan Kenobi had going into it. And that's completely understandable. You know, two completely different levels of Star Wars characters, if you like. But there's so many characters in this series and so many strong characters. And like I said, we're getting to know the other rebels. We're spending more time with Mon Mothma now as well. And we knew that this series was mostly going to be about the Rebel Uprising, the early goings on of the Rebel Alliance, before it is the Rebel Alliance. We knew it was probably going to be the dark side of it, the dirty side of it, a lot of spying going on. And we're getting that. We're getting that. Maybe not so much the dirty side of it yet, but we are getting some of that uprising. We are getting some of that undercover spying stuff as well, which is all great. But I have to say, I'm really enjoying the stuff I personally wasn't expecting from this series. So Mon Mothma's relationship with her child and husband, it's compelling. Who knew? This is the Star Wars I didn't know I wanted, to be honest. In so many ways, it's not what I expected, but I'm still absolutely here for it. And I feel like I am being satisfied with what I was expecting at the same time. Also, and this was brought up by Leona Powdroy Girl as well, and I think it's a really good point. This series isn't just humanizing the rebels, or whatever we're supposed to call them at this stage. It's humanizing the Imperials as well. You know, some of these guys seem all right, to be honest. You know, especially next to Mothma's hubby. That's for sure. I feel like he's turning into the major villain right now. Although we have to say it's the corporate. I can't remember his name. The corporate guard who got fired and then went to his mum, who's great by the way, and got the big slap at the apartment block in Coruscant. And we keep getting a lot of foreshadowing towards his uncle as well. There was that great shot of him looking at the hologram of Andor or Clem, whatever you want to call him these days, looking very intense and future villain-like as well. I still think he's going to defect to the rebels at some point, but clearly he's going to become a bit of a threat to Andor, going rogue himself. Yeah, again, though, I have to say all the spy stuff, the undercover stuff is great, and we did have more of that in this episode with the Imperial turncoat. You know, the way he manipulates his crew, and then walks away. They're like, oh, you know, could not a few of us not watch the big thing happen? And he's like, oh, all right then. And as he walks away, just gives that little wry smile. Absolutely love that. Again, some fantastic character building. And I think we all know that we're building up to a big episode. We will have the heist. Love me a heist. We'll have that coming up. And I think that works well. I think they made absolutely the right decision to release those first 3 episodes in one kind of dump, if you like. I feel like it would have struggled a bit more this series, or got off to maybe a more criticized start if they just opened with 1 episode. Because I completely get the argument. So it's not an argument. Some people are just saying it's too slow for me. Sorry, not sticking around for it. And I do understand that. You know, this style, this pacing won't be for everybody. But I think it's fair to say at the end of, because they talk about each 3 episodes, each block of 3 episodes being like a movie almost. So I think we know that each 3rd episode is going to be, you know, the action-packed one, if you like. So it'd be cool to see what happens next week. In some ways, I want them to release them all in dumps of 3, but that is a compliment, you know, because I am really looking forward to the next one. And they are still fairly short when you think there's like 6.5 minutes of credits. I remember looking at it and thinking, 44 minutes or something this episode. That's not bad. But then, oh, wait. 6.5 minutes of credits, so they're not long. You know, we're still in Mandalorian territory. So yeah, no, really another strong, compelling, and intense episode. I think gradually it's getting more so as this series goes on, more compelling, more intense, more interesting. The way it's going between the different groups. You know, the rebels, Mon Mothma, the Imperials. Dude with the hologram, can't remember his name, who got fired and slapped by his mum. It's great. It's great. There's not one group it switches to where I'm like, oh, can we switch back to Mon Mothma now, having domestic issues? Anyway, let me pop over to the chat. So Glenn, the spooky hippie these days, because of course it is October now, Pun Lord Sith Warrior says, the hippie side of me is geeks today. Okay, Biden is pardoning some 6,500 people convicted of simple weed offenses and has started a path towards decriminalization. Fire it up if you got one. They fired up that model that the young lad built of the Imperial base, which the heist's going to take place at. I enjoyed that. I enjoyed the burning of that. That was cool. But anyway, that was a tangent from Glenn's tangent. Glenn does add, though, The Axe Forgets was an interesting title to see shortly after watching most recent Rings of Power episode. Yep. Won't spoil that too much, but there is definitely an axe involved in the latest Rings of Power episode. Clay says, indeed. I think that's in response to something Glenn said, one of the 2 messages. Which one? Who knows? Maybe both. Andrej, hope you're doing well, my friend. Did anyone play the old TIE Fighter game? That was a nice way to play the events from an Imperial perspective. Was that X-Wing versus TIE Fighter? And this wave here is for Mr. Matthew Stokes. He's in the house. Hope you're doing good. Hope you enjoyed your curry last Friday, was it? No, I had the curry last Friday. I don't know if you did have one in the end. You were comparing Andor to a curry, and then we kind of, you tempted me into a curry, and I think you tempted yourself into a curry as well. But I did enjoy my king prawn biryani with a paneer saag side and a peshwari naan, just in case you're wondering. Power Droid Girl is here as well. They're doing what the conversation in Clerks was about. All the Death Star workers getting killed. They had families back home, etc. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Hello to you, Alexandra Starr. Hope you're doing good. Glenn Geeky, a spooky hippie, says, the pace makes total sense to me. It is tension building while doing world building. Absolutely. Both of those things. And as Matthew Stokes says, it did have blue milk and it had Matthew Stokes. at Blue Milk as well. And Anders Lay said this, I think cereal is now canon in Star Wars, right? If it wasn't already. We had the blue noodles, don't forget, as well in the opening episode. Alexandra Starr says, hey to you, Glenn, by the way. Andrej, smiley face. Right. Let me. Matthew Stokes did have a curry. That is good to hear. I love a curry. Curry is life. But again, let's not turn this into another curry chat because I know it upsets some people, like Jane Flakes, for example, who says, for non-Star Wars news, I have just got the new Antichrist Imperial album. It is awesome. Andrej, in regards to Andor now, we've got something about Andor, something that's not about curry. The waiting on episode 6 is giving me time to re-watch it a few times. Yeah, I'm definitely going to re-watch episode 5 before seeing episode 6. I'm genuinely looking forward to this next episode. Really am. First time, this is the most I've looked forward to another episode of something Star Wars related for quite a little while. Probably Mandalorian era, I would say. Season 2, obviously. Alexandra Starr, however, thought this was the weakest episode yet. Am I missing something? Maybe you are. Quite a lot of somethings, I would say, Alexandra Starr. But you weren't particularly into the first 4, were you? If I remember correctly. I think you were a little bit just like meh towards it, I think. So the TIE Fighter game was even older than X-Wing versus TIE Fighter. Andrej says the kind of second game in the series. First was X-Wing, then TIE Fighter individually, and then I suppose it was X-Wing versus TIE Fighter. But yes, Andrej did mean rewatch episode 5 before episode 6. So let me know your views on episode 5 of Andor if you're here in the chat. Hello to Explaining Computers as well. Hope you're doing good. Also, give me your scores out of 10 for it as well. And in case you're wondering, Alexandra Starr is indeed feeling a bit meh overall to Andor so far. But sticking with it, I assume. We've got some more video game news from Glenn the Spooky Hippie. I had enough of a time racing in Pod Racer, and that's mostly just moving in 2D. Forget trying to fly in space. LOL. Excuse me, the pacing in Andor, this is Matthew Stokes. The pacing in Andor is slow, but the trade-off is that we get better character development. That's important as there's lots of new characters to get to know. I know, and they're all probably going to die next week, aren't they? Certainly those rebels. Anyway, I imagine they won't all die next week, but there's going to be a few deaths, and I think it's going to be that young lad who, his heart's in the right place. And I genuinely felt how gutted he was when he learned that Clem was there and in it for the money, kind of Han Solo style. But then, he's a good lad. I keep calling him a lad, a young lad, because I can't remember his name. But the actor's really super familiar. What else has he been in? But I keep calling him a young lad because, I can't remember his name. But again, just to justify me calling him a good lad, a nice lad, he then kind of still continued to bond with Clem, despite learning of his financial-based intentions. Mon Mothma's fella is going to be the guy we love to hate. From Matthew Stokes there. Gaz Nottingham's here. Hope you're doing well, Gaz. Gaz says, love the tension that every set of characters are under. It makes everything seem grounded and scary with the oppression of the Empire at the tip of it all. Yeah, and even characters working for the Empire under their own kinds of pressures as well. It is truly intense, this series. Alexandra Starr, in case you're worrying people, is sticking with it unless it really drags on too much. I feel the next step will be the one where it all kicks off. Yeah, it's got to. This is the heist, right? And doesn't it still look so good? So good. I think a lot of us have volume fatigue. This is just visually, whatever you think to the pacing, you've got to admit this is visually very refreshing. Such good world building as well. Andrej here with a rating. Oh, I've just missed a couple of episode comments I'm going to come back to. 8 out of 10. Episode 5, very slow build-up, good character development. I love the location selection. The music underlines the story well. I'm with you there. The soundtrack really does, as you said, underline it so well. Fits like a glove. Explaining Computers, Chris says, I liked this episode. The slow, slow, fun format, I think, is working better in this second batch of episodes as the slow burn works across a broader span of characters and locations. Yeah, absolutely. We have. I feel like now we've peaked in. No, saying that, listen, we haven't saw Guerrera brought in yet, but I feel like we've met the majority of our groups of characters, at least for this first season. But so much more still to come. Dave McKay's here as well. We must protect Nemec. Oh, I meant Thump. Slow Thump format. And that makes more sense. I just accepted Thump because you're you, Chris. I love you. But this definitely makes more sense. The slow Thump of that third episode, not Thump. Although Thump, because they're good, these third episodes so far, of which we've only had one. We're going to get our third episode of the batches, if you like, next Wednesday. By the way, I'll have to keep you posted on. There may not be a stream next week because I'm on vacation. Unless I can find a way of doing it on the Wednesday, I definitely can't do the Thursday because I'll be on a plane. So yeah, if I don't appear next week, don't panic, people. In fact, you should probably celebrate. Use your time in a much better way. But I will be back the week after if I don't appear. And if I do appear, it will more likely be on the Wednesday if I can figure it out. All right, if I've missed anything, please copy and paste it back in. We'll keep going for a little bit longer. Give me your scores on episode 5 out of 10 and/or episode 5. Others, hope you're doing good. I'm really liking Andor. Nice to have so much character building. Will be nice to have an action-packed episode next week, though. Yeah. I think we're all but guaranteed that, and I want that, despite enjoying the pacing and, as has been discussed tonight, the time to actually allow for character building, for world building. You know, we haven't had that. The Mandalorian, Boba Fett, Obi-Wan Kenobi, very fast-paced. And at the same time, you kind of spoon-fed a lot of the details. And I feel, like I said before, we're kind of treated a little bit more like grown-ups in terms of this series. And yeah, the pacing's nice to allow that time to breathe, that time to build. But yeah, we're due some action. And I think, like we said, it's fair to say we're going to get that next week. Okay, Chris, Explaining Computers, is here with a score out of 10 for Andor episode 5. It is 7 out of 10, which is one less than last week. Peter's here as well, who's been quite lukewarm, is it fair to say, towards Andor so far. So, Peter, get your score in, please, for episode 5. Be interested to know it. Jane Flakes is here with her score, which I did actually have in case you couldn't make it, Jane, but you've put it here. 10 out of 12 from Jane. And if you know Jane, it's an imperial grading system. Power Joy Girl, I think the 3 episode arcs work well. Set up in part 1, advance the story in 2, and finale in 3. The Thump. Go again from the top for the next 3. Kenobi would have perhaps worked better as 3 episodes. Yeah, I haven't actually seen the Kenobi fan edit, whatever we want to call it. But I have heard it's, for a lot of people, an improvement, trimming out a lot of the fat. So yeah, I think Kenobi, don't get me wrong, the more Star Wars, the better. And I think if you're a proper Star Wars YouTuber, not like me, you know, the more content, the better for you to, you know, churn out yourself, your end as well. But yeah, personally, as a fan, but maybe a fan that can step outside of the crazy box sometimes. I think that version of me could accept that Kenobi definitely could have been trimmed down for a more satisfying version. And it sounds like that fan edit has become that version for a lot of people. So I'm definitely going to check that out at some point. Clay says, like the episode, good tension builder for the next one. Absolutely. Glenn is here with a score out of 10, and it's 9 out of 10. Really loved this episode. Clay's gives it an 8, so I think 7 is the lowest we've had so far. Did Alexander Star give it a score? No, I don't think so. So I think 7's the lowest we've had so far. Lowest. Peter is here with 3 words, way too slow. Yeah, I mean, I think next week you won't have that argument. I can't argue against the argument this week. It is slow, but I'm cool with that. And I think a lot of people are. Again, I'm not looking around much at the moment in terms of social media, but I'm from where I am lurking. I'm not hearing or seeing much infighting about this one compared to everything else Star Wars post The Last Jedi. Jane Flakes, I am loving the tension, the steady build up to something potentially horrifying and heartbreaking. Yeah, death. We're getting deaths next week, that's for sure. Alexandra starred a heist, but also that weird mummy boy. Cyril, his ambition to find Andor and earn his place is more interesting than Mon Mothma's terrible marriage. Yeah, and we didn't get a dinner party, did we? I assume that's happened because wasn't it the next night? Last episode they were talking about for the dinner party with potentially Sly Moore, potentially Palps being mentioned. Oh, hey, might have shown up. So I assume that happened because it was another day, wasn't it? And we saw them. Would it have been the same night when we saw them traveling back? When she delivered that great line about the event being charitable. So therefore not of interest to bad hubby. Yeah, I'm assuming that was the next night. I don't know. So maybe we've missed a dinner party. But anyway, life goes on. Gaz Nottingham, are the space goats a real species, or did the FX crew slap a few extra horns on some goats? Either way, they look cool. They did look cool. As we said last week, or maybe the week before, there's definitely going to be a Geeknd location series for Andor coming up. I'm actually going to do a couple of small ones in London at the weekend before going away for a little while. But when I'm back properly, I will definitely do a fuller one, preferably if someone could drive me, because I hate driving around the UK once we know exactly what's being used and what it's being used for. I don't think we've seen Blackpool show up yet. We've definitely seen Scotland. We've seen a couple of London locations, but you wouldn't know it because they're interiors. And obviously a lot of Pinewood Studios, which I won't have access to. Glenn can't make it Wednesday. Sorry, dude. Well, let's see. It may not be Wednesday at all anyway. It may not be next week at all, but it will be the week after for sure, if possible. 4.5 out of 10 from Alexandra Starr for this one. Okay, a lower score. I actually think 6 is okay, but lower score compared to what we've had a lot of already tonight for episode 5 of Andor from Matthew Stokes, 6 out of 10. But by the end of the season, it's going to be far more than the sum of its parts. Yeah, that's a very good point. Friend and colleague, I know, he actually mostly not by kind of choice, just the way his life is. He ends up binging all of the Star Wars and Marvel series on Disney Plus. Big Star Wars and Marvel fan. And he's having to do the same with Andor, just the way his life is at the moment. And I think he's going to have a great binge, a great 12-episode binge. Gaz Nottingham still finding it difficult to give a score at this early stage. 8.5 out of 10 is good. Very good. 6 out of 10 from Peter. A very slow 6. You know what? I actually expected lower from you, Peter. So I think that's kind of high. Remember, people, I think 6 is actually above average. It's high because 5 is average. So anything above 5 is above average, right? So I actually think 6 is a pretty good score. 8.5 from Anders. And I think that's the last score I can see. Andrej with a nitpick here. My only nitpick was naming Jakku in the list of planets from where the equipment was stolen. It felt forced to mention sequel trilogy, Fondor for shipyards, Kessel spice mines made sense, but Jakku, not. Maybe it didn't really. That's a real genuine nitpick. If you look up the definition of nitpick, it will be Andrej at 9:23 p.m. BST, and what I just read. But yeah, that's fair. It didn't really stand out as being weird to me. But yeah, in fact, that's the first time I've thought about it since now that you mention it. Alex Starr's going to be in London in November for some gigs. Cannot wait. Hope you enjoy. Who are you seeing? What are you seeing? All right, I think we might be here, everybody. I think I've reached the end of the line. Last chance to copy and paste something back in that I've missed because the chat thing jumps. So I do miss things. Jane Flake says, I've already said to my wife, but I am loving Andor more than Mando. I like the darkness of the show. Yeah, there's a lot of best Star Wars show or series yet out there that I'm seeing. I don't think I'm in that camp yet, to be honest, but I am going to give this episode 7.5, possibly 8. Because I feel like I went a little bit too high with the first 3 episodes, which I do need to go back and rewatch and maybe reevaluate my scores. But I've definitely gone a bit too high for me in terms of now I can't really dial it back. Because again, 8's for me and 7.5's even for me are huge scores, as many of you will know, based on the fact that 5 is average. Anything above 5 is above 5, therefore above average, because 5 is average, all right? There is something here in regards to Andre's nitpick from Gaz Nottingham. There was an Imperial presence on Jakku. The Emperor had an observatory there. Yeah, I don't know. Oh, Sigur Rós, Brixton Academy is still a great venue. Hope you enjoyed that. I've never seen Sigur Rós live, but I'm sure that will be spiritual. That'll be intense in a way, but not in an Andor kind of way. I'm sure you'll be giving that more than a 6 out of 10. But Brixton's still like, it's got a little bit. It's got very much hipsterfied over the recent years, but it's still got that edge. It's still grimy, good grimy. Yeah. So I still love Brixton, and Brixton Academy is just a great dirty venue. So I'm sure you're going to have a great 2 nights there. Jane Flakes is almost at the end of the alphabet books. They mention Jakku as the place of the last Imperial stand because there is barely anything there. And Alexandra Starr, in case you're wondering, has seen Sigur Rós already twice. So it's going to be 4 times come November. Brixton is rough and steady still. Yeah, it's a little bit fluffier than it used to be, but overall it's still got its soul, and I hope it doesn't lose it. It's slowly becoming Clapham. Peter thinks Mando is better than Andor at the moment. Too much time seeing spectacular images and hearing great music is not enough. Let's see. As Matthew Stokes said, I think opinions might be changed at the end. We won't be looking at individual episodes so much, but the bigger picture with Andor, perhaps. Let's see. So it'll be interesting to see if you still feel this way at the end, Peter. All right, guys, unless anything pops in the next minute, I'm going to wrap up. But thank you all. Yeah, Soho's dead. Soho's long gone. I think Brixton, I remember when I first moved to London as a student, Shoreditch was still kind of underground, and that died years ago in terms of becoming a tourist attraction. However, it's still quite cool. It's got interesting stuff. It's good for people watching. It's nice and diverse, like London is everywhere. Great street art and all that kind of stuff. But, it's also now got Pret-a-Manger, which it never used to have in my time. But I remember it all being very much underground when we first moved to London. Soho was dead by the time I got to London. We only went for a couple of student nights there, I think. But London's just been Soho's just been increasingly destroyed ever since with the redevelopment work, hasn't it? But anyway, there are still some cool places in Shoreditch, Village Underground being one of them. It's a good venue. Thank you, everybody. Thank you, Jane Flakes. Lovely show. Have a lovely holiday and stay fabulous. No, you are fabulous, and you stay that way, Jane. I could never be as fabulous as you. But so if you've just joined, I am on vacation next week, but I'm going to try and do one on Wednesday, but it's very much 50-50 at this stage. And then Thursday I'm on a plane, and then I'm actually just going to take 4 or 5 days to not do anything internet related for the first time in a long time, including all of the socials. So hopefully I'll see you on Wednesday, but if not, it'll be the week after where we'll cover 2 episodes. Hey, so hope you all enjoy the rest of your evening or day, wherever you are on this football we call planet Earth. And we will catch up very soon. I'm now going to start waving, which means I've hit the end broadcast button, although I haven't actually hit it yet. But now I have. So start waving if you haven't already. Start waving now and keep waving. Keep waving, everybody. Keep waving.